So the other day I chatted with Dr. Nina Shapiro. She is a pediatric ENT at the UCLA School of Medicine. She's author of the book Hype, which I highly recommend. And she just came out with this new book, The Ultimate Kid's Guide to Being Super Healthy. We talked about nutrition, exercise, screen time, and so much more when it comes to kids' health. Take a look. Now you have a new book out about children's health, The Ultimate Kid's Guide to Being Super Healthy. I have it right here with me. And I have to say, I've been flipping through it and reading it, and I really think it's fabulous. Congratulations. What inspired you to write this book? You know, you've had a lot of clinical experience. You're a Harvard trained doctor. What made you think about writing a book on children's health?
So, I take care of children for a living and I have my own children and I'm around a lot of children and families. And I'm always amazed by how interested and inquisitive and bright these kids are. Really, even at really young ages, they want to know real information. You don't have to sugarcoat everything. You don't have to use made up words for illnesses and body parts. They're really able to take in a lot more than we give them credit, especially when it comes to their health. And what I also find is that the more that children know, that whole idea of knowledge is power is really true. And I think that if children have some empowerment in decision making and understanding, even if they can't make the decisions, even if it's their parents who are making the decisions for them, they will incorporate that into making good decisions as they get older, because they'll understand what they have to do and why.
So you really cover a wide range of topics that I think is so helpful for parents and children. How do we make exercise appealing for children?
For kids, I think it's really important to consider exercise as an activity. And I think, as with anything, we have to model that. So, if you're going to go for a walk or go outside and play, it's you as the adult. And it is really hard. And I think you have to acknowledge that to your kids. It's really hard for us to stay off of our technology too, right? So we
Definitely.
have to get off our phones going for that walk or that run or playing outside when we're with our kids.
Mhm.
And I think, not to use exercise as a chore or something that you have to do, but something that's fun and really flip it into this great activity. And it may not be the same activity for everybody. And, some people love to go out running and some people love to go out walking and some people don't, and, kids included.
Right.
And if it becomes really onerous to them, they're going to reject it. And it's going to be a battle and it's not going to be fun for you and it's not going to be fun for them.
But I think you're right. I think making it fun is really the most important thing. In terms of screens, there are children even younger than one who are, using screens. They have their parents' phones in their laps. But we know that this can be a concern. What are the specific concerns, and are there any upsides to such early screen use?
So it is definitely a concern. And, the American Academy of Pediatrics still recommends no screen time under age 2. And that is because of the brain development and the
And is that
way that
television, by the way, as well? TVs as well?
really, if you want to be strict about it, it is no screen, including a
Oh, Sesame
television.
Street.
I mean, you can watch it when you're 2.
Right.
But before that, it's, again, kids do, and I understand that. And it's not, they're not going to have brain damage from watching these shows if they're 18 months or so. But the way the brain develops is the way it's processing new information continually. Certainly, the younger the child, the more quickly those neurons are developing connections. And when you're on a screen, especially when you're watching as a child, it's passive.
Mhm.
And so it's great for us and it's great for kids because it gives us our brains a rest,
Mhm.
but it's passive activity. The images are coming so quickly. If you look at, say, old cartoons, from the 50s, 60s, and 70s, everything moved much more slowly. Yes, we had those, fast, Tom and Jerry or Bugs Bunny, but the images were not as quick and the scenes were not as quick as they are today. And it's just, overstimulation for these young kids that it's, is it going to stunt their development? minimally. There are studies that show that it can, but the
That
hard
it
and
actually can. That's
and
interesting.
if it's really used on a regular basis in place of other activities such as speaking with other people. So for instance, kids who use a certain amount of screen time may have less explosive language delay. I mean, less explosive language production and improvement if they're on a screen all day, as opposed to listening to adults and other children speak, because they don't have that interaction. It's just a one-way look.
Yeah, I think if that's like the majority of their time, it's probably more of an issue, right?
Yeah.
I always felt like it was so challenging to like not let
Of course.
watch like a 30-minute show.
No, it's fine.
They were
It's
getting all the other
fine.
interaction, right?
Right,
And
right. It's not, one of those, again, hard and fast. It's just like, drinking juice, as a young child. That's not good for you. But if you drink
that's
juice
a great
every so
topic,
often,
by the way.
it's fine.
Right. Juice. I mean, juice is, we grew up thinking juice is really, really good for us.
It's sugar water. Yeah.
Right. With some extra vitamins. As a doctor, how do you help parents teach children how to develop healthy eating habits? I know this, as a nutritionist myself, this can be very tricky, very challenging.
Very challenging.
We need to eat to live. So, so it's an issue.
It's really hard. And I think that, we have to be honest with our children, and we can't really qualify things as this is good, this is bad. I think the good and the bad, kids really take that to heart. And to say to a child, this is bad for you, or this is bad food, and this is good for you, and this is good food. Again, it's just like exercise, you have to do it. If it becomes a chore, and if it becomes sort of just a negative or just a positive, it's going to be a really tough battle. And you don't want it to be a battle. You want them to be a part of it. So I think just to, as young as kids can understand, explain to them, okay, here's what's in this. Here's what's in, say cow's milk, here are the nutrients that are in it. And here's what those nutrients do for you. And now let's look at apple juice. Here's what the nutrients are in this, and here's what those do for you, as opposed to do to you. I think that really changes it. And then again, we all like things that taste good, and that's fine. I really am a big proponent of, everything in moderation. Nothing should be restricted. But
would you believe in like like I've seen some nutritionists do like this traffic light system but that does involve like a yes and a no, with the red and the green. The yellow is, be cautious. Do you believe in that sort of system, or is that still too rigid, do you think?
I think that could work depending on the child. Some children like a lot of structure, when it comes to a lot of things, including, their diet. But I think just to understand, very simply, again, not good or bad. For instance, I used to tell my kids, very young, this is juice. Another word for it is sugar water. And I would say that. And sugar water tastes great. And, we have it at birthday parties, and we have it, when we go out, for special occasions, and that's what it is. And just like cake is cake, ice cream and all those kind of things, it goes in that same category. Not that juice is bad for you.
I was going to say juice does have some vitamins.
No, it does have some vitamins, and especially something like orange juice, which is calcium fortified and has vitamin C, and even a little bit of fiber if it's unfiltered pulp from the orange juice. But in general, you're going to get much more bang for your buck if you eat an apple as opposed to drink apple juice. So
again, get kids to do that, like to eat the fruit as opposed to drinking the juice.
Well, again, a lot of it is modeling, and a lot of it starts at home. If you don't have it at home and your child is 4, they're not going to go to the store and get some. They will get it when they go to friends' houses probably, and they'll get it at birthday parties, and that's fine. But if you have soda and juice available at home, that's available. And if you're drinking soda or juice, and again, I don't want to vilify juice is fine. It's just an example.
I know.
Just an easy one because kids like it, and it's around.
What about water? Like, how do we encourage kids to drink more water? I mean, even as an adult, I find it, I need lemon in my water. Like,
Yeah,
I
water's
can
kind of
drink plain
blah.
water.
Water's kind of nothing. I
Right.
think what's made water, there are two things or a few things that have made water sort of cooler. One is, all of the water products that celebrities are promoting. So that makes it seem really nice to drink water if it's in a nicer bottle, even if it's a plastic bottle. And then the really nice reusable bottles have made water seem more appealing. So, if you have a fancy water bottle that keeps it at a perfect temperature for 24 hours and it has your initials on it or a fancy design, blah, blah, blah.
Stickers.
Seriously, it's an accessory. It's like you have your purse and you have your water bottle.
Like
That's
a
helped
pocketbook.
water a lot.
Right. No,
Um,
that totally makes sense.
yeah, and that's more for adults, I think, for kids than for kids. I think for kids, and it's the same sort of thing. First of all, water is in most foods, so I don't think we have to go too over the top of even for adults. We don't have to drink 8 glasses of water per day. We're getting water in almost everything that we eat. So I think that's fine to just stay hydrated. And it's the same thing. Especially young kids, they're at home a lot. So what are you offering during meals? Are you offering water or milk, or are you offering something else? And if that's what's, sort of the standard at your mealtime for both adults and kids, are you drinking tap water during meals? Then that's what they're just used to.
Right.
And that's what they'll do. They won't necessarily, understand that there are other options until they go out in the world, and then they
I
will.
think you're so right about that. Like, my girls are so used to just having plain water. I mean, it's just their default. They don't really
Right.
think much about it. But you're right. And a lot of it depends on what you're bringing home, right? And what's available. And that's, what they see. We're their gatekeepers, right?
And modelers. I mean, I think if they see us drinking, soda at dinner, and but you have to drink water,
Right.
then wait a second, what's the difference here?
Do you
So
feel that way about like sweets in general? I know, I can tell you, like, in my house, dessert is fine. I don't want to
yeah,
have this restrictive
yeah,
advice and then have it backfire, and then the cookie becomes like a big deal and it's
yeah.
forbidden. And I know one of your chapters is, why can we have cookies for dinner, but can we have cookies for dessert?
Yes, I'm a big dessert person personally.
Right.
I get really sad when I'm out at dinner with a group of people and nobody orders dessert.
Oh, me
Um,
too.
so we
We
can
should
go
go
out and have
out.
dessert together.
Or my husband will order cheese and I'll say,
No,
wow,
no,
that's a
no, no,
buzzkill.
no, 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 no. Right. I mean, there's some people that do like the salty thing at the end of the meal, not, no. I think dessert is fine. I think and even as a meal sometimes, again, nothing is hard and fast. And, if, occasionally I'll make French toast for dinner, and, with maybe if they want maple syrup, that's fine too.
Right.
So, again, I don't say, you can't have dessert, or dessert is a treat. I feel it is sort of a closer to the meal.
Mhm.
And so it's fine, and again, in moderation. It's not like to have like a huge, 16 cookies at the end of every meal, but a cookie or
Right.
two is fine, and it's
Right.
enjoyable, and it's okay.
And I think what you're saying too is, like, it's not just the food itself and the nutrients it contains, but the kind of relationship with food that you're hoping to promote, right? So it's
Yes,
like,
yes.
you don't want them to feel that, dessert is forbidden or cookies are forbidden, ice
Oh,
cream,
no.
because that can be just as unhealthy as, unhealthy nutrients in the food, like sugar
Exactly.
and saturated
Yeah,
fat, in terms
yeah.
of how they perceive this in the future. You talk about, what will happen in your body and how it's going to serve your body, so, if you do a little bit of exercise, you'll feel healthy and strong, you'll sleep better, you'll do better in school. You also have a sleep chapter, and I love how you list, like, good sleep helps you grow, think, be smart, be strong, feel good, get sick less, not be crabby, do better in sports, be a better friend, and make better food choices. So I feel like that is so motivating to kids, as opposed to saying, oh, well, if you sleep, then, your circadian rhythms are going to be intact. Who's going to go for that message?
No.
But right. But if you tell them they'll have better friendships, or do better in
Yeah,
school, or score more goals, perhaps, in soccer,
yeah.
that's really compelling. And I love how you illustrate that in the book.
Thanks. Thanks. Yeah, I want them to feel, again, we as adults, we're always telling our kids and, what to do.
Right.
And we don't even realize how, it's just, if you've ever had your kids like go away to sleepaway camp and then you come home and you're like, I have no one to yell at. It's not like we're yelling at them, but there's so much we, do this, go to sleep, brush your teeth, clean your room, clean, set the table, you name it.
Right.
But, as you said, let them be part of the decision making and let them understand the implications of their decisions, and hopefully good decisions, and for the right reasons.
So it's like giving them the power over their
Right.
bodies.
Yeah.
Which I think is empowering, right? Like they take agency for themselves as opposed to us being their person.
Right. And even when it's not good, like when a child, certainly at work, like if I have a child and they say I'm scared, of, having a procedure, as opposed to just saying, well, don't, or if a child is at home and they're having nightmares, or, they're afraid of something at home or at night or the dark, we can't just say like, don't be scared. It's okay. It's going to be fine. That's not going to help them.
No.
But just to really break it down, well, let's talk about what you're scared of, and, and then to understand what these fears are about, and then to give them the tools to overcome them, as opposed to just saying, it's okay, go to sleep.
Right. You're right. That's not very useful. And yet you hear that so much.
Yeah, it's so easy to say. And we do it. We all do it.
Right. And it doesn't validate what they're feeling. Right. So it's like, at least I don't think it does so enough. But that's a good transition to the next topic that I wanted to talk about, and that's mental health. It's become such a hot topic, especially with the pandemic. And, I think children and teens at all ages, had their own specific issues to deal with during these past 2 years. But we also see that in general, kids are getting stressed and anxious at a younger age. So what can parents do to help alleviate stress and anxiety in their children? A little bit we know is probably okay, but it seems to be, personally, I talk to friends and I feel like every other friend's child is like on an antidepressant or on an anti-anxiety. I've never seen such wide use of medication, even, as I do now. So what are your thoughts on that?
So, a lot of this medication is very needed and very helpful. And thankfully, a lot of it is because we now recognize mental health more. We recognize issues as not just being like, I'm stressed or I'm sad, that it's a real issue that needs to be addressed and attended to. And, with treatment of any kind, whether it's medical or talk therapy. And I think, we talk about screens, but, screen time very quickly morphs into social media. And, it's one thing for a 2-year-old to be looking at a little cartoon. I think that is, very soon changes into YouTube, which then becomes, ads, and then it becomes social media very early, second, third grade. These kids have accounts. And, they're surfing and they know how to look around and how to present themselves in a way that, makes them seem like something else. And that level of stress is beyond comprehension for us, let alone for, a 7, 8, 9-year-old. So that is a major, major player in the anxiety and pressures that kids and certainly teens are suffering. It's this very, very dark hole that they fall in, and it's really hard to get out. And there are dangers to it. There are emotional dangers. There are, drugs being sold online to kids, and these kids don't really understand what they're getting themselves into when they get into social media. So that's a huge, huge.
Oh my God. Yeah, it's so overwhelming as a parent too, right? How do we navigate that world as a parent? And it's not even a world we grew up in.
No.
What are some of the things that we can teach our children about social media, or is there anything compelling that we can share with them that would help them?
To really set boundaries. And, for children at any age, boundaries are meant to be broken, unfortunately. But I think to be really involved early, because if you wait to the point where they are teenagers and they're at a different level of being able to navigate the system. It's too late.
How has your role as a mother influenced your role in offering this kind of advice to parents as it relates to children's health? And do you find that you follow your own advice, or do you find that you struggle with it? It's easier to tell another parent. But how is that intersected, like your role as a mother with?
That's a great question. I mean, so a lot of it I certainly try, and a lot of what I wrote in the book came from what we've tried in our home. But I wrote this book when my kids were older, so a lot of the issues, weren't really, relevant, especially screen time, so when my kids were, 6 or 7, it wasn't real, it was television was maybe some shows on, a phone, but it wasn't really, this, there was no Instagram for, when my kids were 7, 8, or 9. But I do try to really think about it in real life. So, my kids do know what I think about, certain foods and nutritional issues. But again, they also know very well that it's all about moderation in our house and what we recommend, and there's nothing that's restricted. And we do try to balance food, and nothing is perfect. But they do know, what the nutritional value is, say, of, we taught that very early. But again, not like this is good and this is bad, but I did teach them some of the things that I talk about in the book. But it's very different when you have teenagers.
I bet.
In every way. I mean, I can't stay up that late. I can't, they do, are they getting, 10 hours of sleep every night? No way.
You have a whole chapter on sleep. I feel like no matter how many times I tell my daughter, put the phone away an hour before, like it just doesn't happen, right? No, like how it's like they get a ding.
So there's certain like simple things you can do, and we do this still. So for instance, all of the phones are in the kitchen at night.
Okay.
No phones in any bedroom. Even I'm on call for the hospital, but they'll find me. They'll call me. I'll hear that phone ring. That kind of call wakes me up. So but the kids, they're not on call. They can wait, and their phones go on silent at night. It's very easy.
They think they're on call.
They think they're, yes, that's very important. Text that they need to get from.
Well, like my daughter was like, no, I can't ignore this message. She's trying to reach me. It's like they think it's an emergency.
So, but a lesson that they can learn that's really, really hard to learn is that if you don't respond right away, they're going to think you're really important and busy. We learned that as adults on other levels, right? Don't answer the phone right away. Don't call them back right away. But that kind of thing, just that, or have like a bounce back or something like that. Like I'm, busy right now or something like that. Just like people have on their phones. Like if you text them while they're driving, there's so something like that. But just, just like you say, like the kitchen is closed after a certain hour. It has nothing to do with what they eat, but just, you don't want to eat, a snack at 11 o'clock at night. You shouldn't. Same with screen time. It's just, here's where all of us, and that's the thing, you have to do it yourself.
Right.
Too.
Exactly. But so it seems like you successfully model that at home because your kids follow the advice and put the phones.
The phones are not in the bedrooms at night. Wow. The laptops are because of the schoolwork, and that's where they're charged, or that's fine. But no social media, no texting. That's it.
Wow.
That's it. Nothing's that important unless you're, if you're on call for emergencies in the hospital, when they are on call, they can put their phones in their room.
That's a good perspective, right? Anything else other than that can wait.
So I think that we just in general, whenever there's an issue with your child, whether it's about their health or school issues or friend issues, to give them some tools and, sort of flip it in a way that they can make some decisions and they can feel empowered, as opposed to just, kind of, I can't do anything. I can't think about this. Help me fix the problem for me. I'm sure, social stuff, it's very much like this one's mean, this one's, not mean, this one looked at me funny. And our instinct is to take care of the problem for our children.
Right.
And oftentimes we have to, but I think to give them some tools that they can use for anything, whether it's food or exercise or medicine or friends, or social media,
Mhm.
so that they can, because they're going to get older and they're going to
Right.
make their own decisions more and more. But if they're kind of have that foundation going
Right.
forward, I think it will really help them.
Yeah. That's great advice, having a toolkit to take into
Yeah,
adulthood, right?
right. For us too.
Right. That's right. Of course. Well, thank you so much,
Thank you.
Nina, Dr. Shapiro. The Ultimate Kids Guide to Being Super Healthy. You can get it on Amazon. And thank you. This was a wonderful, informative conversation. A lot of great advice that
Great
you
to catch
offered.
up. Great to talk to you.